Why? Monkey.
About 5 months ago from the upload of this video, I played through Fallout 4's Deathclaw thanks to the power of mods. Well, that video was so well received that I have decided to once again dive down the playable creature rabbit hole, as today I asked the question, can you beat Fallout 4 as a gorilla? Just like before, we have DummyBot to thank for the mod, and once again I will be leaving a link to the PC version in the description should any of you want to try out the mod yourself. Now, with all that out of the way, let's begin. Much like before, we cannot actually begin the game as a gorilla, as we have to craft the item from a chemistry station. Fortunately, there is one in Sanctuary, so it will not take long to go ape. As for my special stats, I go with a focus on strength, endurance, and intelligence. Much like any build that is built around punching people, a higher strength for more damage is always appreciated, and endurance complements that nicely so I don't get gunned down while trying to close the gap. Finally, intelligence for more experience, as I'm quite sick of hearing the Idiot Savant jingle for the time being. Plus, I recently binge-watched Planet of the Apes movies, and those monkeys be smart. I would be lying if that movie binge wasn't also a primary factor in the creation of this video, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, once I'm out of the vault, I use the I'm Special book for more smarts, and then head over to the chem lab to turn myself into a gorilla. I also remembered to hotkey it, as according to the mod description, using the item from the Pip-Boy menu can cause the game to crash. The first thing that I noticed upon transformation is that the gorilla is exponentially slower than that of the Deathclaw. It's not a huge surprise, I am aware, but the gorilla is also incapable of sprinting, so this right here is my max run speed for the rest of the challenge. Yay. Now, I can technically sprint in first person, but other than my hairy little hands, you can't really tell I'm a gorilla this way, so I opted to not use it. Well, I think it's time to see how the gorilla performs in a firefight, and there's no better place to test it out than Concord against the gang of raiders. As one might expect, the gorilla, when it finally closes in on its prey, is able to decimate them with a single strike, given the size of its massive forearms. The only real difficulty here lies in Fallout 4's melee combat being Fallout 4's melee combat. And I suppose the fact that when the gorilla is in combat mode, or his fists are unsheathed, you cannot strafe from left to right or move backwards, and instead can only walk forwards to where the camera is facing. In the end, these are very small drawbacks to deal with when you consider every one of the raiders crumbles after a single punch. The massacre continues inside the museum, and in doing so I made another interesting discovery: the gorilla can in fact use VATS. This is only interesting to me as the Deathclaw could not. This was also where I noticed that I had an ungodly amount of action points despite having only a single point in agility. After clearing out the stragglers, I made my way to Preston and didn't even bother going to the top of the roof, and instead jumped off the balcony and just made my way for the Deathclaw to fight a worthy foe. The fight between the two of us looked like a complete mess, as I kept accidentally cancelling my attacks and in return would get slapped by the Deathclaw. Luckily, I was able to prevail after realising the fault of my strategy, and was fortunate enough that the experience gained from killing him was enough to level me up, and therefore get a nice full restore, allowing me to easily and safely finish off the final few raiders. It was at this point that I upped the difficulty to very hard for the remainder of the run, considering how quickly I dealt with that Deathclaw. After getting my reward from Preston, I briefly wandered off to unleash my pent-up gorilla rage on Carla, Wolfgang, Simone, Trudy, and Patrick. I wasn't quite sure who to go with this time, and I just figured the Minutemen could be quite fun. That means it's off to 10 Pines Bluff, and by proxy the Corvega assembly plant. Much like the Deathclaw, the absolute thickness of my tugus makes passing through certain doorways a complete pain.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
The first true problem this caused was when I couldn't pass through this doorway while trying to deal with the raiders. Sure, I could just go back outside and use another entrance, but I was determined to solve the problem here. I decided to tap into my ape nature and instead just scaled the makeshift blockade, and then once again went absolutely bananas on the unsuspecting raiders. Thinning out the pack was going well, all up until the point where it wasn't, as I failed to escape my Northern Irish heritage and was exploded by a nearby bomb-shaped car. Trying things again, I made sure to not annoy the turrets, and after Jared was face down in the dirt, had my fun with those outside, and then returned to the 10 Pints Bluffians, and therefore Preston, to become General Gorilla. Up next on the never-ending settlement slog was assaulting backstreet apparel for the settlers at Oberlin Station. Really, this is just more of the same, except there are less raiders in a more confined space, and given my playstyle is just smacking things until they stop moving, this proves fairly advantageous for me. Next was Starlight Drive-In, but as mole rats are only above radroaches and bloatflies in terms of killing effectiveness, how about we skip ahead to something more interesting, such as me wailing on some zombies, followed up by making a random gorilla number 1 on the Brotherhood shit list as I take out 2 of the remaining soldiers and a toaster. Dance was quite strong, I will give him that, but in the end he was helpless against my relentless VATS barrage, and then for some reason, he blew up. Well, if I'm taking out the Brotherhood and siding with the Minutemen, I may as well get rid of the Railroad now as well, not that I need a lot of convincing, mind you. I had planned to use what I dubbed the Bart Simpson as I just slowly walked towards them, constantly spinning my arms. It worked well enough on Drummer Boy and some of the small fries, but one melee attack was enough to stun-lock me out of the move. That's not to say I didn't slaughter them, of course, I did. Doing it this way would have just been a lot funnier. With the railroad out of the picture and all of their valuables hidden somewhere on my person, it was time to continue my quest to rebuild the Minutemen as the sole military force in Boston. That means it was onwards to County Crossing and time to clear out some ghouls from the National Guard training yard. Ghouls are squishy at the best of times, never mind when you have big furry meat tenderizers for hands, so needless to say, they all got squished in a matter of moments. Well, all except the legendary glowing one who was able to tank his way through my onslaught thanks to half his health refilling. Even with only one arm, he was able to get the best of me. Second attempt, rather than wait for him in the open, I make my way for his bathroom stall and repeatedly shoulder charge him until I'm certain he's dead. This move is probably the real MVP of the run, as not only does it have a fast cooldown, but as it can be cancelled into itself repeatedly, I was able to use it as a makeshift sprint from here on out. County Crossing was the last settlement I needed to get the quest to assault the castle, so once more I take a break from forced settlement recruitment and make the journey to join Preston and the boys at the castle. It's a straightforward enough journey, the only annoyance was having to make the trip twice, as the game cannot comprehend the power that is grape. Arriving at the castle, I was initially quite concerned about fighting Mirelurks, as more often than not, melee attacks will just bounce right off of them. Fortunately for me, and the time I've already invested in this idea, Mirelurks are not immune to the rotating Gorilla Fist, or any of my attacks as far as I could tell. Getting rid of the eggs was honestly more of a hassle, as my fist would just go right over the top of them. On the bright side, I do have a carrying capacity of around 600, so I opted to just steal what eggs I could, and then squash any of the ones that were foolish enough to be born. Let's not pretend like the Queen wasn't going to be a problem though, because she most certainly was in my first attempt. Although, to be fair, it wasn't my wisest idea to just charge her without a plan and hope for the best. After having my face melted off, I tried again, and decided to make use of VATS as you're practically unkillable in the right situations with it. Wouldn't you know it, it works like a charm, and due to the frankly insane amount of action points at my disposal, I'm able to take out the Queen with very little issue. Keep in mind, we are still on very hard, the gorilla just appears to be that good, I guess. You would think Preston would give you a break or a banana for everything we've accomplished so far in only 3 days, but no, it's once again back to work, and this time I pick up 2 settlement quests, those being to clear out Sunshine Tidings of Ghouls, and to help the Abernathys retrieve their daughter's locket from some raiders. I ended up going to Sunshine first, as vitamin D is important, but you know what else is also important? Not drowning. Therefore, I made sure to take the Aquaboy perk, because just as I had expected, going underwater in third person as a gorilla is a little bit odd. Pretty sure my head is never above the water at any point, and considering my slow movement speed, and the fact the Minuteman questline has a mandatory underwater segment right at the end, I would more than likely require this perk if I wanted to finish the run this way. Ghouls prove yet again that they are just walking sacks of experience, and to be fair, the raiders of the satellite outpost don't fare much better. I figured with these 2 as well, that was more than enough settlements for the time being, plus I was getting bored of the monotony of it, so it was onwards towards the main quest. And by that, I of course mean my tried and true battle against Swan, which is present in just about all of my Fallout 4 videos. Like many things on this planet, Swan is all high and mighty until you land multiple punches to his crotch, at which point he sort of just stops being a threat as you continue to wail on him. Shockingly, he does not last very long. Swan wasn't really what I was worried about in this part of town. No, my greatest foe from the Deathclaw run would still need to be overcome. I am of course talking about the turnstile thing inside the metro tunnels. Just like before, I am once again too big, wide, thick, whatever, to simply walk through with no issues. I tried all of the viable techniques you would think of first. I tried jumping over it, circling my way in, wriggling through, and even attempted to just glitch myself in, but nothing worked. After a bit, I had a big brain idea where I loaded back to when I entered the tunnels, and kept one of the triggermen with a gun alive and forced him to run past in the hopes that I would be able to teleport to him in VATS. Well, after spending close to 10 minutes to get the setup right, all that ended up happening was that I slapped the air in front of me so hard that it did something to the atmosphere that caused the gangster to drop dead. With all hope seemingly lost, I was ready to call the run a failure and turn back into a human when I decided to try one final jump, and for whatever reason, after this jump, I was able to just walk forward over the top and drop down onto the other side. I have no idea what I did differently that time, and it's not like I'm on PC, so I didn't change my size or turn off collision. I guess someone somewhere just decided to throw me a bone. I am grateful, of course, and what better way to show it than by absolutely decimating any and all men in suits down in the station. I don't have a lot to say about the triggermen today, other than the fact the shoulder charge led them all to a very early and much deserved grave. After I break Nick out, it's not long before I'm back at the entrance and ready to fight Skinny Malone and his crew. I have learned from my past mistakes by now, and so I make sure to take out Darla first so I don't get stun-locked to death. She goes down to 1 power attack, and after cornering Skinny, the rest are out for the count in no time at all. Outside, Nick wonders how a gorilla was able to find him down in the vault, and honestly, that's a great question that we sadly don't really have an answer for. Back at Diamond City for the first time, and I sit down to have the interview, and I don't know why, but this gorilla's sitting animation just makes me smile. Of course, next we break into the mercenary's house for a balanced breakfast, and then Nick calls on dog meat? Okay, normally I would turn down his help when I make it to the fort, but then again...
Apes together, strong!
When Ape Meat and I arrive at Fort Hagen, we very quickly begin dismantling the synths. Well, I dismantle them, he doesn't really contribute a whole lot if I'm being honest, he's more so just here for moral support if anything. Not that I really need the help when it comes to combat, mind you. For instance, the fight with Kellog was over before it truly began, as for once I decided to take out the synths first, which was simple enough given the fact that a single shoulder charge each was enough to do the trick. Then, for the man himself, I just hit him with a few of the spiraling death punches before finishing the job with a banana slammer. After ripping the not-so-soft parts out of Kelpog's brain, I make it outside, witness the arrival of the Brotherhood, and figuring I'm probably the main reason they are here, I hightail it back to the castle. As luck would have it, turns out enough time has passed for Ronnie Shaw to arrive and get on with the whole artillery building quest. Sarge becomes the third creature of the day to outbox a gorilla in record time, and as such, on the run back, I just employ the same tactic I used on the Mirelurk Queen, and by that I mean an overabundance of attacks and VATs that may or may not be considered overkill. Sarge being a mess on the floor, I constructed the cannon, and the monkeys now have artillery. I repeat, the monkeys now have artillery. That's pretty much the Minutemen all wrapped up for the rest of the game, bar one more settlement, so it was time to press on more with the main quest, meaning it's off to everyone's favourite bathroom break scene, the Memory Den segment. One new piece of info I have gathered this time around, however, is that gorillas should never, under any circumstance, be put into cryogenic sleep, because they will apparently come out looking like eldritch abominations. With that mental image firmly nestled into my brain, it's on to the glowing sea. The journey to the Green Land for once was actually more deadly this time around, as for whatever reason, I was attacked by not only a Deathclaw, but a Yagwai as well. Both were put in their place shortly after the encounter, but even still, more often than not, the journey south is relatively danger-free for me. I did tangle with another two Deathclaws in the glowing sea, one outside Virgil's cave, and another who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. That said, they were not my most glorious kills. Oh no, that honour once again goes to the children of Adam, who were at a complete disadvantage as I only now just realised that the gorilla is completely immune to any and all forms of radiation. In other words, their gamma guns may slow me down, but they will never ever be able to outright stop me, something they weren't able to grasp it seems. After having a nice chat with Virgil and probably completely confusing him when I protested I was not from the Institute, I made my way for Green Tech where the gunners learnt the true power of the shoulder charge. It was working so well in fact that I had planned to use it on the Courser, but his insistence on gun bashing me stopped that idea pretty quick. So, alternate plan, I just kind of repeatedly jumped at him over and over again while bringing down the whole weight of my body until he died. The gunner prisoners in the vicinity may also have gotten caught in the swinging, but that's neither here nor there. This pent-up rage against the machines continued as I have Sturges build me a teleporter, and as soon as I'm able, I attack Father when he enters the room. Don't know what kind of idiot walks into a room with an angry gorilla in it and thinks everything will be okay, but I digress. After some muffled sounds of gorilla violence in the lower halls of the Institute, I make my way back outside where I learn now it is time to get the final settlement so I can wrap up the Minutemen side of things. The initial plan was to help with the kidnapping at Greentop Nursery, as you can see, but on the way there, I passed by Finch Farm and figured yeah, this'll do, and decided to liberate the ironworks for them instead. The Forged attempted to burn me to a crisp, which does make sense given all the body hair. Unfortunately for them, I am so bulky that I just laugh at this idea and continue to pummel them until I can remember how to make it to their leader. Slag may look tough in his armour, but all it takes is a power attack from me to destroy a single piece of it, therefore doing this repeatedly is a surefire way to substantially weaken him during the fight. The other Forge were nothing to worry about, and as for Jake, well, for once he didn't get caught in the crossfire and fall into Little Mount Doom, so I was able to take him back to his parents for some more dialogue and a pseudo-unskippable cutscene, which is always pleasant. It's here where I end up getting the Defend the Castle quest, meaning it's time to activate those neurons as I use my big ape brain to start constructing turrets. This, combined with my brute strength and humans who are willing to die for me, were able to take down the overwhelming army of synths, quite easily I might add. Sure, they do hurt when they concentrate their fire, but as mentioned, the gorilla is shockingly tanky, and as a result, I'm able to get by with only a few injuries, plus a few well-timed level ups are always appreciated for some quick and effective heals. When the final synths retreat back to the Institute, I get the necessary info from Sturges, and then make my way for the sewers, and watch in awe as the gorilla gracefully descends into the depths of the ocean. As per usual, the first 2 turrets you encounter in the sewers are much stronger than anything else that awaits you further in. While they seem out of reach, let me remind you of how we slapped that triggerman from a distance earlier on, and wouldn't you know it, it works again here. After the posse gets teleported in, we pretty much steamroll our way to the end without much resistance. In fact, I even made sure to go out of my way to take down the 2 legendary synths rather than just run straight for the reactor. The strangest part of the whole mission was when they sent the invisible gorillas after me. Ape no kill ape, but I do think when push comes to shove like this, the rules can be broken. Besides, they're clearly some form of demon gorilla if they can go invisible like that. Anyway, I strap on the pulse charge, grow a heart and take the child with me because I love Tarzan, bash my hand against the button, blowing up the institute, finishing the game, and proving yes, you can indeed beat Fallout 4 as a gorilla. That was fun. Maybe not as bizarre as the situations I find myself in as the Deathclaw, but enjoyable for me nonetheless. I see a lot of suggestions run through the game as different creatures and robots, so I will definitely do more of these in the future should you guys wish to watch them. Regardless, that's going to be the end of this challenge video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider the video a like. Interested in more challenges in the future, feel free to subscribe. Try on these videos out every week. My name's Nerbit, thanks everyone, I'll see y'all in the next video.